So thank you very much, Solis, and thanks for this kind invitation. I'm a medical geneticist, and I work in rare disease field from years. And I also have some experience in running clinical trials. So I will try to provide my view, so sort of key points related to the real world evidence. So I was proposed to discuss these 4 key questions to try to address. So what is a ERN? I will tell you that in a while. What is real world evidence and why is important in our field? So rare diseases, the importance of data privacy, and that's a crucial point that is strongly related to real world evidence, and the potential and value of real world evidence for patient and physicians. So the next, please. I will try to do myself, but it's not my screen. Okay, so I'm involved in European reference networks. You know them very well. And these are networks established from the European Union and devoted to healthcare, providing healthcare to rare disease patients. They are site of very high specialized healthcare, so site of excellence medicine, and they are the main aim of ERNs is to facilitate the access to diagnosis, the full cohort of treatment and care for patients with rare diseases across Europe. You see here a very complex network on the right in Europe. And of course, the final aim is to provide the full cohort of diagnostic and caring treatments and approaches for rare disease patients to increase knowledge and to facilitate data sharing. Data sharing is a crucial point for rare disease. We will come back to that later on. The next, please. If we consider rare diseases, of course, rare diseases are rare, but overall they affect many people. So 6 to 8% of population in Europe, which means that we have about more than 30 million of persons affected with rare disease. So they are rare singularly, but overall the number of patients is quite large. We have 8,000 different diseases, so very high heterogeneity in terms of genes and phenotypes underlying the disease. And for this reason, Europe has set up 24 reference networks which care and have in charge rare disease patients for diagnosis and treatment. You see here a nice graph with the distribution of all patients across the 24 ERNs. The data are, updated at 2019, but we have even more patients now. So there is a, even bigger enrollment of patients through these ERNs. So definitely they are extremely important for providing care to these patients. And also a point which might be important for data management, for data set and registries, we may consider rare diseases as rare, simply, 1 in 2000, very rare, 1 in 10,000, and ultra rare, 1 in 100,000. And this difference makes, it is very important also to study this disease and also for the data collection. It is obvious that for ultra rare diseases, data sharing and data collection of these really few patients is outstanding and challenging. The next. So why real world, what is it, why is important? I'm not the perfect person to explain you what is real world evidence, but basically, in my opinion, this might be a complementary source of evidence to be integrated into data sets based on evidence-based medicine. What I can tell you from my experience is that rare disease patients do often have dual feeling on new therapies, because we are, of course, discussing about new therapies and especially gene therapies. The hope from one side, so a new therapy or drug represents the hope to be cured, of course, but also anxiety, because a new therapy drug may raise concerns, and often it is received as a sort of jump in the dark because knowledge are not very well, defined, and the patients are not completely and fully informed about the cohort of therapies available. So there are outstanding questions patients do always have and related to new therapies. The safety, this is the first one. So the effectiveness, so is this therapy effectiveness? It will change my lifestyle. And also, will my effort, right, and my commitment in following this therapy that sometimes is quite demanding from patients and family, will be rewarded in terms of, for example, having a sort of sustainable therapy, final therapy, compassionate use, orphan drug approves, all the cohort of, perspectives related to new drugs. And also, will be this treatment definitive? So all these, concerns and questions are related to the real world evidence these patients may provide view related to new therapies. The next. Just monitoring my time. So data privacy, of course, we know these are of outstanding importance in rare disease, but generally in medicine, and are based on the general data protection regulation. We should be compliant to that, and this is a requirement for patients and privacy when we are, carry on any clinical study. But at the same time, we know that the data sharing for rare disease is vital, because this will allow clinical information collection in structured data sets, maximize the value of the clinical trial experience and outcome and results. They will allow to build up a fully and comprehensive natural history of the disease, which is definitely lacking for many, many rare diseases, to build up registries and to define the full phenomics, so the phenotypes of these patients, to feed appropriate, data sets as like HPO or other repositories. So based on that, which is the view of the patients. Next slide. EURORDIS has launched a survey recently, which is published on the European Journal of Orphaned Disease. And so you can check this publication. I'm sorry, I forget to put the reference here. They basically survey patients and family about their willing to have data sharing. And well, the data are really relevant because basically 100% of patients or respondents are supportive of data sharing. And they think that data sharing may improve research, but of course, on the other side, 40% are against their data being shared outside the medical field. So something we should consider. They want to have the control of their own data, so the data they share, and they foresee two top risks associated with data sharing related to the information that should be somehow controlled by them in order to be shared with third parties without being consented. Next slide. And finally, we are very close to have access to a novel huge amount of data coming from programs related to newborn screening initiatives, so genetic newborn screening. And you can imagine that screening thousands and thousands of infants using genetic tools, including also larger platforms or whole genome sequencing, may provide an unprecedented large amount of data. There are many initiatives ongoing. One is the newborn screening group and platform across European Reference Network. Is a joint initiative working together with the Screen for Rare, which is another campaign launched by a few newborn screening society and also European Society for Metabolic Diseases and Immunodeficiency. And these are also an initiative which is promoting, platforms and discussion about the translation of genetic newborn screening into the health system. And also the Screen for Care project, this is a funded EU project from EU IMI, which aims at screen more than 20,000 infants in Europe across several countries, of course, to provide a very early diagnosis to rare disease patients. So we should be ready to, understand how to somehow share and store this data, of course, to implement healthcare and also research for rare disease in Europe. Next one. So potential value of real world evidence, values are many. Trust, I put on the first on the list because this is very important to be trusted from patients, to have, trustness in order to, provide and inform patients about all possible treatments, knowledge, and also facilitating data sharing and data harmonization, increasing transparency in the communication, integrate data sources. And also for clinical trials, I put some provocative questions now which are of course open for discussion. So can we consider real world evidence a way to reduce, for example, or to rethink the clinical trial based on placebo control? This is a very important point for rare disease because these are rare and the number of patients is definitely very low in many, many clinical trials. So also we can think about real world evidence to develop more pay for outcome models, of course, related to new therapies. And it is important. I'm a geneticist, so pay a lot of attention to GDPR rules and privacy. So we should find a way to conciliate these two aspects of rare disease. So data sharing and data protection. These are somehow may be conflicting, but we should avoid conflicts and try to maximize, the value of real world evidence to do this synergy between these two aspects of rare disease data. The next, I think, is the last. And no, this is the last. So thank you so much for your attention. And I hope, ready to have questions from you in the panel. Thank you.